on sustainability. One of the often repeated solutions to the fact that the world seems to be running out of resources, sometimes it's oil, sometimes it's iron, sometimes it's rare earths, and above all, it's air and water. The air because it's being filled with rubbish of various kinds. The solution is let's move towards sustainability. And obviously that means something which you can keep going, prolong indefinitely. And it is indeed a wonderful goal. That's what the world has to do, because there is only a certain amount of human life that can be supported by this planet. The difficulty is that it completely contradicts the fundamental drive behind most, or at least a lot of the world's nations, which is capitalism. Capitalism, as it was developed by Adam Smith and others, didn't address, as far as I know, the question of sustainability. It was assumed that you could have endless economic growth. Although Adam Smith himself said we had reached the limits of what you could do with the kind of technologies at his time, with 500 million people, and he didn't then draw the conclusion that we should try and sustain at that level. He hoped, though couldn't see, that we might break through into something else. And certainly we did break through into fossil fuels and so on for a while. But now we are in a situation where for a couple of centuries we've had extraordinary economic growth, and the capitalist countries and the socialist ones have built up an expectation that this will continue forever. So if you listen to any set of politicians in any country, they'll be saying we must increase economic growth. If someone said no, we shouldn't, we should divide the cake that is already sufficient in the world and at the national level more equally, so everyone has a reasonable standard of living and health and education, they wouldn't be listened to. The drive is more production, more consumption, a rising standard of living caused by that. Now, it's quite difficult to argue against it, because there are those who think that what really sustains democratic governments and gives them their legitimacy is that they provide the goods. Negatively, that's often explained as the reason why the Soviet Union collapsed. It couldn't promise its citizens increasing economic growth, and when they looked abroad and saw how much more successful the capitalist world was, they rejected the system and switched, under a lot of help from the Americans, to naked, raw, fast economic growth. And others say, well, we can't do that because it would undermine our legitimacy, and also that other countries would take advantage if we tried to keep it at a reasonable level through our lives. Then some other country would come and steal the advantages we now have and develop things, so it wouldn't lead to a sustainable world. It's the old argument against any kind of action. It's no good me doing something because other people won't do it, and therefore the situation will not be made any better. I don't know what the answer is. Even countries like China, which are not capitalist, well, at least they are capitalist, but perhaps that's why they also emphasize everlasting growth. And this has been questioned. There were reports in the 1970s on the Limits to Growth Club of Rome report. So people have thought about it, but what they can't do is to persuade politicians and others to take much notice of it. But we need an absolute sea change. We need to start again and think about sustainable living. And that applies not just to the national level, but to the individual level. I am constantly seeking for improvements in my life, not more salaries or money like that, but more books or more holidays or whatever, though not holidays at the moment. So I'm just as bad as everyone else. But unless we rethink what is the purpose of it all, and how can we make a fair, just society at a level of living at the moment in many Western countries far higher than has ever been possible in history. Most people, or many people in the West, live extraordinarily luxurious lives. They may not think so because they're always looking at how they could be better, or how it was a little better in the past, or how they can't have this or that. But if 200 or 300 years ago you'd looked at their levels of health, the numbers of cars, the types of education, you'd have said they are astronomically well off. So it does require a big change of mindset, but unless we solve this, we will be caught in the cycle of endless frustration, destruction of the world's resources, and a grim future for our children and grandchildren.